Alrighty, 5:38 this morning, and of course we're asking, where's the money? This time when it comes to your kid earning the big bucks this summer. Well, the market for teens looking for summer jobs is expected to be strong this season. Researchers from Rhode Island College predict the share of 16 to 19-year-olds working this summer will jump about 4% compared to last year. And the pay seems to be going up too. That same data says the median weekly pay in 2019 was about $280 a week. Now, last year, teens were taking home more like $300 a week. That's an increase of about 7%. And here's some tips that you can be going over with your teen. Talk with your child about what they want to be when they grow up. You might be able to find jobs, internships, even apprenticeships that can help your teen narrow down a career path. Plus, Indeed.com is giving advice too, saying make a list of your hard and soft skills that you want to develop. Soft skills are things like effective communication and critical thinking. Hard skills are more like technical abilities, social media management, maybe programming. And once you land that job, it's time to teach financial literacy. Teens can learn valuable lessons in money management and credit before they take on adulthood. So think back. We're asking this morning, what was your first job? Make sure you text us at 704-329-3600. Guys, do you guys remember what your first jobs were?
Yes, I had to fill up gas for boats on the lake.
Oh yeah, you told me that.
But I wasn't very good at when people needed change. And
oh no.
They were like, Sarah, do you want to be the hostess at the restaurant next door?
Why not? Yeah, I actually interned in a local newsroom. That's what I did.
Did you
made,
really?
Made no money.
Yeah, that's what, when we did internships, you didn't make money. Now people make money with internships, which blows my mind. But anyway.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Well, if you have little kids, they probably have seen YouTube sensation Danny Go. But did you know he's from right here in Charlotte? I got the chance to speak with him about his growing fan base and how he's working to make a difference and raise awareness with his newfound fame. And that's the video that's on YouTube now?
It's on there. Yeah, you can see the shot of me kind of like snaking my way up it.
If you don't recognize Daniel Coleman, your kids definitely do.
You ready to play the floor is lava game?
On YouTube, he's known as Danny Go.
You ready to have some fun with balloons?
With 220 million views on his channel, it's now become his full-time job.
Come on, let's go.
Born and raised in Charlotte, Daniel's first job out of college,
Kind of a cool part of the story.
was working for Lowe's. He did that for nearly 13 years.
I ended up shooting like a decor series. It was a friend of mine, another friend, that was seeing me do those videos for Lowe's. He had young kids, and so he was kind of familiar with what was on YouTube, and he was kind of like, you know, I think you could do this in the kids space and do really well.
And boy, did he do well.
Bounce, bounce. The Floor's Lava, the one, we have two of them. Floor's Lava 1 has like, I think 27 million right now, which is our biggest. We made a second one like a month ago that already has 25 million. So he'll probably be the new king up there.
How do you wrap your head around like, oh my
No, I don't even.
25 million people?
I know. It's beyond, I can't picture it. When it was like, when we were getting like 500,000 views, that was almost more like I could picture a stadium of 500,000 kids. Whoa, that's incredible. Like, I don't even know what 27 million looks like. That's wild to me.
And he's doing it all with his two best friends from childhood.
We just kind of pulled into the Danny Go team that is the team today.
And they tape almost all the videos in his garage in front of a blue screen.
It's kind of shoestring, I guess. You just have kind of a bond there that you can't fake. It's not a huge operation, but we're having fun and we're trying to put out a ton of videos.
Daniel says he's more inspired by what the platform gives him to raise awareness.
I have two sons. Isaac is 11, Levi is 7. So my son Isaac was born with a pretty serious genetic disorder that had kind of a lot of effects on his body, like he's missing some bones. He's had a bone marrow transplant, he's had a kidney transplant. So he's had a crazy life, and he's an incredible kid. He's super tough.
Isaac, his motivation to keep the content coming.
And so, yeah, there's a piece of me that kind of enjoys growing a platform with Danny Go, because there's a lot of causes I care about that, you know, causes that chose me, like Be the Match for bone marrow, joining the bone marrow registry. We had to wait a long time to get a good match for him. So like, I'm very passionate about more people joining that registry, and kidney donation, or any kind of organ donation. Like, I'm an organ donor, and we had to wait a long time for a kidney as well.
Looking back, it's hard for Daniel to believe how far everything has come.
This is a special place. So this is kind of the very first place where we pressed record on a Danny Go video. We've become a very musical kids show, and I just think it's funny, like right off the bat, we couldn't do anything but music. We were in a band together growing up, and we just like gravitate right back to music.
These childhood friends continue to turn original music every 2 weeks.
So yeah, it's just kind of fun to look back on it because it was just complete experimentation, not any pressure at all. But it's fun to think about. It's become our jobs.
Daniel says he hopes one day the Danny Go team can go on tour, maybe start with the schools tour. Until then, they will just keep making videos. But if you want more information on Be the Match and organ donation, we have all that information on our website, WCNC.com. But it was so fun to chat with him, and they play his videos at my daughter's school to get the kids up and moving, and it was fun to be like, oh my gosh, she's from right here in Charlotte.
I can't even begin to understand the creativity involved.
I know, right?
Like, my brain just doesn't work like that.
A new song every 2 weeks. And they were
so
childhood friends.
They're so well done. Yeah. And it's because of you that now JT and I like to get our Danny Go on.
I love it.
Yeah, and that the Floor is Lava 2 now has 33 million views.
Isn't that crazy?
Doing well, Danny. Wow. And one of my new favorite songs is the Wiggle Dance.
All right.
Yeah. Can you wiggle fast? Can you wiggle slow?
You kind of remind me of those Danny Go videos.
There you go.
Maybe you can make a cameo.
Well, do the wiggle dance.
With your help, WCNC Charlotte is making a difference in our community.
Beautiful day, so many people helping. This is incredible.
Let's spread that love tonight.
Here is a $5,000 check that you guys can use to further the mission.
There is nothing on earth like the feeling of giving back with your hands.
$5,000 to you and Block Love Charlotte for what you guys do.
If you'd like to make a difference, go to WCNC.com/make-a-difference now.
6:38 this morning. Restaurants are expecting a boom in business this summer season, but they might be left asking, where's the money? So CNBC says that's because consumers are still worried about inflation, enough to cut back on some of those luxuries to save the checkbook. So let's get into this data. Last year, restaurant sales were already lukewarm because of concerns like high gas prices, rising cost of groceries, and the overall economy. Now that's on top of higher restaurant bills. In a Data Central survey, about a third of folks said they plan to dine out less over the next month to save money. And about half said they're going to keep their restaurant spending habits the same. Still, though, nearly half of operators taking that survey are anticipating higher sales or improved traffic over the summer months. So it's got us asking, what are some ways you cut back on spending? Is it maybe eating and drinking out? Maybe it's shopping? Text us at 704-329-3600. Guys, the best one for me would probably be cutting back on shopping.
Yes, and the app Mint is a great app to use to help manage all of that.
And remind yourself of what you're spending. That's
your
right.
budget.
Kia, thank you. You know those buzzwords like organic and all natural, they can make you think that you're doing something really good for your body. But a lot of natural skincare products can actually contain allergens that you don't know about. Wake Up Charlotte's Megan Bragg breaks it down for us in this morning's Verify Fact Check.
To get the facts, we are taking a look at the study itself published in JAMA Network. Dr. Sarah Taylor, Associate Professor of Dermatology, Wake Forest School of Medicine, and Dr. Sandra Hong, Director of Cleveland Clinic's Food Allergy Center. According to the study, researchers analyzed more than 1,600 so-called natural personal care products and found most of them contain ingredients that can cause allergic contact dermatitis.
Contact dermatitis is a really common issue for people, and they develop a really itchy rash. It could be scaly, it could be dry, sometimes blistery, that occurs when we actually come in contact with something that our skin is allergic to.
Many natural products have well-known irritants or allergens in them, specifically essential oils.
When it comes to skincare products, Dr. Taylor says the FDA does not approve them before they hit the shelves. She says the best thing to do is look at the ingredients.
We don't want any natural or synthetically added dyes. So this is something I tell patients. Our skin does not like fragrance and it doesn't like color.
She says to look for the least ingredients as possible. And if you really want something that is natural, you can ask your dermatologist before you use it. With your Verify Fact Check, I'm Megan Bragg.
Verify, WCNC Charlotte.
Verify is all about trying to make a difference in the community by making sure that the community has the correct information. This is what we know, and hey, this is what we don't know. Sometimes you're actually surprised by the answer.
Verify the difference.
Verify is a great way to combat that misinformation, making sure that people know the process of the reporting.
As kids wrap up their final days of classes, state leaders are already getting ready for the next school year. And a big concern is making sure there are enough teachers to fill classrooms. Governor Cooper announcing millions of dollars in new funding to help out educators just starting out on the job. Wake Up Charlotte's Tradisha Woodard joins us now. Tradisha, the governor trying to cut down on more than 5,000 vacancies across the state.
That's right, Sarah. And one of the ways they're working to fill in the gap is pretty much by giving aspiring teachers different ways to enter the workforce, kind of identifying those barriers ahead of time and finding ways for them to enter and stay in the profession.
At one point, over 100 openings.
I've seen teachers caring less and less, students caring less and less, grades dropping, an overall decline in mental health.
Governor Cooper announces $3 million in new federal funding to help more North Carolinians become fully licensed teachers and tackle teacher vacancies. The funds will be used to cover things like the cost of licensure exams, which averages around $450. That means aspiring teachers, along with nearly 1,000 current teachers who need to pass an exam to remain in the classroom, can now receive a reimbursement, as well as a variety of preparation materials for the exam. Governor Cooper says this will help ensure exam fees don't deter excellent, diverse talent from reaching and staying in the classroom. And the funding is eligible to any North Carolina teacher who took the licensure exam up until July 1st, well, on July 1st or after July 1st of 2022, and it's going to last up into June of 2024. Reporting live for Wake Up Charlotte, I'm Tradisha Woodard.
As we get ready for those hot summer temperatures, you might try to cool off with a cold drink, right? We all do that. But some are wondering, can drinking a warm liquid, a warm one, actually do a better job of lowering your body's temperature? Wake Up Charlotte's Megan Bragg verifies.
Nothing sounds more refreshing than a cold drink on a hot summer day. But there is a claim that drinking warm fluids can actually cool down your body temperature. So is that true? Let's verify. Our source is Dr. James Reed, internal medicine with Novant Health, and a study published in the National Library of Medicine. When we took this question straight to Dr. Reed.
That's a trick question, Megan. Let me tell you the truth.
He says it's a trick question because whether it works or not really depends on the type of climate you're in.
So in a very low humid environment, you will go ahead and drink something hot, and that will receptors trigger you to sweat. And if you're able to evaporate that sweat, it actually does cool you down.
In dry, hot weather, it's true that hot drinks can cool you down. Dr. Reed says that's because hot liquids stimulate receptors in your throat and mouth that trigger sweat, and the evaporation of that sweat is what cools your body down. However, in humid weather, it's a much different story.
In a highly humid environment, such as the East Coast of the United States, probably not going to allow you to evaporate as much sweat as the heat you're taking in.
This study backs him up. It shows even if that hot drink triggers perspiration, that won't cool you down unless evaporation takes place. So in very hot, humid weather where your sweat can't evaporate, drinking a hot liquid will not cool your body down. Dr. Reed says when in doubt, opt for a cold drink and get out of the heat, especially if you feel your body is overheating. With your Verified, I'm Megan Bragg.
Very interesting. If you have something you'd like us to verify, email us at verify@wcnc.com. Chris.
I know it says today was a great day to be out there because you're looking at some changes for tomorrow.
Jane, big changes are coming for tomorrow, but it's not going to be all day. I can tell you now, the rain that's expected for your Sunday will be the second half of your day. So Sunday morning into midday, your plans should go without a hitch for the first part of your day tomorrow. That includes your Sunday morning services, perhaps brunch, any activities up until about 2 to 3 o'clock. Then we could see that first batch of rain. And I do anticipate those showers to come in waves. We'll get to that in just a minute as we look at Futurecast. But right now, it is a gorgeous start to the weekend. Plenty of sunshine. Those temperatures are really, really nice for this time of year in the low and mid 80s across the board. Now, we are dry today, but here's what I'm looking at for tomorrow. We'll have these showers well to our west and southwest for right now, but they will continue to build and lift into the area. It'll be more of a 1-2 punch. 2-day event. We'll have the rain to move in tomorrow, part of a warm front. That is going to lift primarily from south to north, and then we'll have a cold front to work its way from west to east, and that'll bring the second round of showers to come in for your Monday, so early Monday, for the second half of those showers to come in. So Sunday, Monday are going to be our 2 best rain chances days. For tomorrow, by 9 a.m., nice and dry, so we'll have primarily sunny skies. Those clouds will slowly begin to build in. You'll notice those clouds thickening into, say, midday or so. And then into the afternoon, this is not likely to be widespread, perhaps a couple of downpours here and there. And then into your Sunday evening, we could have a secondary wave to push in. It's likely to be isolated in nature before midnight, drying out overnight into early Monday, and then another batch could come through. And that cold front for Monday could trigger more showers into your Monday afternoon, and those could bring some downpours, perhaps an isolated risk for 1 or 2 storms to turn severe for the day Monday, and that could impact us around that evening rush hour. By Tuesday, you see it here, we'll likely dry out once again into the day Tuesday. Here's a breakdown of the rain chances. So you'll likely need the umbrella for Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. Once again, for your Monday, scattered showers possible. By Tuesday, your rain chances are going way down. We'll look for a dry Tuesday and isolated rain chances for the second half of the week. That includes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and your weekend we could deal with some scattered showers. Overnight tonight, look for temperatures in the low 60s, low and mid 60s out the door tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, despite the rain chances for tomorrow, we'll have plenty of dry time for those temperatures to surge into the low and mid 80s, right where we should be for this time of year. And as you make those plans to be outside tomorrow, just make sure you are putting on that sunscreen. We will have the UV index at about an 8 tomorrow. At the pool tomorrow, it'll likely be the first part of the day. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures will warm into the low and mid 80s. Tomorrow afternoon, you can see those rain chances will slowly creep up as we get into the afternoon, evening hours, and we'll begin to see the rain chances tapering off. And once again, they'll return for Monday. We may adjust these rain chances slightly as you see it here on the Guide Roof and 7-day forecast. So I have another update tonight at 11 p.m. And we are looking at a dry Tuesday with temperatures near 80, and then a cooler and perhaps a wetter Wednesday. But those rain chances are fairly low now with a high of 78. And the second half of your weekend or week into the weekend will be in the mid 80s.
WCNC Charlotte.
Weather is a kind of science that you get to see and experience every day. And I think some people don't even realize how much it affects them. That weather has a huge impact on how it threatens your family, your livelihood, or your home. So I think it really is one of those defining things we do that really affects everybody in our community.
See the difference.
That process of giving you a warning ahead of time and keeping you and your family safe is really important to me because I live here too. It's my family, it's my friends, it's my neighbors.
Experts urging neighbors not to let their guard down for wild animals. A Union County couple continuing to recover tonight after being attacked by a rabid fox in broad daylight. It's a story we first brought you earlier this week, and it has some viewers wondering if it's normal to see a fox during the day. As WCNC Charlotte's Caitlin Hagwood reports, it's more common than you think.
A Wingate couple had a big scare this month when a rabid fox attacked them at their home in broad daylight.
Went after me. You know, he got me on the back of the leg, got me on my arm.
I could not get it off of me. I just couldn't.
Eventually, they were able to put it down after multiple gunshots and the help of a neighbor.
Something we don't want to go through again, I can tell you that.
The whole ordeal raising the question, how common is it to see a fox in the daytime? While foxes are primarily nocturnal or active at night, wildlife biologist David Crow says don't be surprised if you see them during the day.
Normally, someone would say if you see a fox in the daytime, be concerned. However, this time of year, mom and dad fox are cooperatively feeding 2 to 4 pups that are almost adult size right now. So they're hunting day and night.
According to the North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission, foxes are shy and generally not aggressive animals. They can hide in shrubs and crawl spaces and may be attracted to pet food or garbage. When it comes to keeping them away, Crow says it's important to keep those wood and brush piles removed, and if you see one,
walk calmly and directly back indoors. Looks rabid, it's acting funny, drunk, stumbly, call animal control.
As for the Rollins family, who are still recovering, they shared this advice.
Don't think a little 8-pound, 9-pound fox can't put a hurting on you, because they can.
Kaylin Hagwood, WCNC Charlotte.
Time now to connect the dots. When we make the news, make sense. More teens are hitting the roads as schools let out for summer, but safety needs to be top of mind this time of year.
Summer marks the deadliest days for teen drivers. Let's connect the dots. Fatal teen crashes increased dramatically between Memorial Day and Labor Day. An average of 260 teens are killed in car crashes each month during the summer. That's up 26% compared to the rest of the year. Motor vehicle crashes are the leading cause of death for teens. Immaturity, as well as lack of skills and experience, are partially to blame. But the big cause, distracted driving. 3 in 5 teen crashes today are caused by that alone. Experts say teens are 2.5 times more likely to engage in potentially risky behavior when driving with other teens. That increases even more when traveling with multiple passengers. Experts say parents should set the example. Limit passengers, eliminate distractions, and always buckle up. That is Connecting the Dots.
Time now to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense. Electric vehicles, they are popping up everywhere in the Carolinas, but there is still a big barrier to getting more of them on the road.
Carolinas need a lot more EV chargers in rural areas. Let's connect the dots. Right now, there are more than 25,000 electric vehicles registered in the state of North Carolina, but oftentimes they're found in urban areas. Data from the website Charge Hub shows most chargers in the state are located in the larger Charlotte metro area. But as you go further out, stations become farther apart. And that's a problem considering not all stations can service every electric car. It all depends on the charging port connected to the car's battery. But not all hope is lost. New partnerships between Ford and Tesla could make charging stations more easy to find. And the state is working to build up infrastructure too. The Business Journal reports North Carolina has a 5-year plan to build out its charging infrastructure on major highways that crisscross the state. The hope is that access to more chargers will encourage more folks to go green. And that is Connecting the Dots.
Time now to connect the dots. When we make the news make sense. This month, you might notice some low-flying planes across the state from Grandfather Mountain to the Outer Banks. It's part of a program to save our big, beautiful trees from a tiny little pest.
North Carolina working to reduce the population of invasive moth. Let's connect it up. Spongy moths have been around the United States since the late 1860s. The moths feed off one of the most beautiful things about the Carolinas, our trees. Experts say after a few years, they can actually kill the trees. The USDA estimates it affects the economy by $30 million each year. The Department of Agriculture is managing the population not by killing them, but by disrupting their mating rituals. It's an organic treatment made up of things like wax, vegetable oil, and water. It's released out of an airplane flying overhead, similar to mosquito treatments. Experts say it's not harmful to the garden, pets, or people. And that is Connecting the Dots.
Wake up to the news that matters most with meteorologist and traffic reporter Chris Mulcahy.
And we're all clear. We're keeping you smarter, safer, and on time.
Start your day the Mulcahy way. See the difference. 4:30 to 7 on WCNC Charlotte.
Well, fire investigators say the construction site of the deadly South Park fire was not up to code. Officials say it was missing 2 critical safety measures that officials say could have saved lives. Wake Up Charlotte's Richard Devane joins us now. And Richard, investigators say there wasn't a plan for if a fire broke out.
Absolutely correct. That plan is covered in North Carolina law, and it wasn't up to code according to fire officials. And also there wasn't an active source when firefighters tried to find the most important thing in fighting a fire: water.
2 individuals lost their lives. We almost lost, firefighters as well. And all of this could have been avoided.
As the cleanup continues at the site of that massive South Park fire, troubling information about there not being a source where firefighters could tap into water.
Do you have a water supply on the seaside, your side? We do not.
But as crews arrived, they found out there was not a standpipe on the construction site. But at a project the scope of that one, a standpipe is required by county law in a pre-fire plan. But CFD says at the time of that fire, the building, Mill Creek Residential, didn't have one.
Again, this is all laid out to the builders when they're supposed to contact the fire department for additional inspections.
Leaving crews to scramble, knowing that they were lacking in one of the single most important things to fight a fire: water.
Those firefighters knew there were people in the building. They knew there were adjacent structures. They knew there were not just civilians, but their sister and brother firefighters were also in that building. So yeah, it's you can imagine what was going through their mind when they couldn't find the standpipe.
Yeah, and Brenner also goes on to say that he wonders just how many other construction sites around the city of Charlotte are in the similar situation with being not up to code. We're right here in South Charlotte. Richard Devane for Wake Up Charlotte.
We all want to protect our furry friends as the temps rise this summer, but one viewer is asking, if you shave your dog's fur, does that help him stay cool? Wake Up Charlotte's Megan Bragg verifies.
Keeping your pet cool during the summer months is super important, but here's a question from one of our viewers. They asked, will shaving your dog's fur coat actually keep them cool? Let's verify. Our sources, Megan Doherty from the Charlotte Humane Society and Tara Belzer, owner of Dilworth Dog Grooming. Belzer says shaving down your dog does not keep them cool. In fact, if it's a double-coated dog, it will actually make it worse for them.
You're taking away the protection from the sun, and the only way your dog really sweats is through their tongue. So taking away that protection and that extra coat is not the way to go about getting your dog cool.
Belzer says it's easy to look at a double-coated dog in the sun and assume they're sweating in the heat. But she says dogs don't sweat like humans do.
They do not sweat through their pores. They do not sweat through their skin. They sweat through their tongue.
Doherty says if you shave your dog's coat, you could actually be exposing their skin to the sun.
And a shaved dog is much more at risk for sunburn and maybe more likely to overheat without the protection of that fur to block out some of the rays of the sun.
Instead of shaving a pet, Doherty says pet owners should just brush their dog's fur every day to make sure air can move freely throughout the coat. So we can verify that no, shaving your dogs will not keep them cool in the summer. In fact, shaving them could expose them to the harmful rays of the sun. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
If you have something you would like verified, just email us at verify@wcnc.com.
When it comes to WCNC's chief meteorologist Brad Panovich, our viewers tell the whole story.
Hey, if you're new to the area, this meteorologist is awesome.
I always stick with Brad Panovich when it comes to severe weather. He's rarely wrong.
You should follow Brad if you don't already. He's usually right on the money with his forecast.
I don't look at anything else besides what Brad says. We are fortunate to have him here.
Brad Panovich. Experience the difference with WCNC Charlotte weather.
The Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office continues to grapple with a staffing shortage and also needed upgrades for its jail.
Yeah, and with a new budget cycle starting July 1st, Sheriff Gary McFadden says he's putting millions toward recruitment and retention efforts, plus upgrading programs offered to inmates. WCNC Charlotte's Julia Kaufman has that story.
Latest data from the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office shows it's short 111 detention officers and deputies. The ongoing staffing shortage led to the jail reducing its population last year. This came after inspectors found officers weren't adequately supervising inmates.
We get outpaced for is money. You know, you could work someplace else to make more money. You could work from home. So then we are battling with recruitment.
Sheriff Gary McFadden hopes to recruit more officers with a $3,000 sign-on bonus. Starting salary is roughly $53,000, and all county employees are getting a 3% raise in July.
Huntersville, Pineville, Matthews, Mint Hill, we're competing with all of them.
To retain staff, the sheriff's office is putting millions toward retention bonuses and shift differential pay. Having enough detention officers is imperative for safety. McFadden says they're juggling this while also trying to focus on medical needs and mental health.
There just simply isn't enough qualified staff there to address the many needs that Sheriff McFadden is speaking of.
In the past 2 years, 8 people have died inside the county jail.
I think the misconception is that they die because of poor conditions at the detention center. That's not true. Most of the people pass because of poor health condition.
To help prevent deaths, Kenny Robinson, who spearheads reentry programs, says it takes partnerships both in and outside the building.
We have found that we are just able to prevent more deaths by working together and increase the likelihood for safety, not only inside of the detention center, but also when those citizens return back to the outside.
McFadden says he's focusing on mental health by bolstering the jail's behavioral health programs.
We want the session to be longer so to give you time to be comfortable and open up.
He says the agency will conduct a security evaluation to see what upgrades are needed inside. Julia Kaufman, WCNC Charlotte.
When did you know what you wanted to be?
Hey Mom, the weather's on!
WCNC Charlotte's chief meteorologist, Brad Panovich, always knew what he was meant to do.
All right, don't forget your umbrella.
In fact, he joined the American Meteorological Society when he was 13. Now Brad is all grown up. You can see him right here on WCNC Charlotte, making sure you're informed and safe.
Hey, where did all my hair go?
Experience the difference.
I know it says today was a great day to be out there because you're looking at some changes for tomorrow.
Jane, big changes are coming for tomorrow, but it's not going to be all day. I can tell you now, the rain that's expected for your Sunday will be the second half of your day. So Sunday morning into midday, your plans should go without a hitch for the first part of your day tomorrow. That includes your Sunday morning services, perhaps brunch, any activities up until about 2 to 3 o'clock. Then we could see that first batch of rain. And I do anticipate those showers to come in waves. We'll get to that in just a minute as we look at Futurecast. But right now, it is a gorgeous start to the weekend. Plenty of sunshine. Those temperatures are really, really nice for this time of year in the low and mid 80s across the board. Now, we are dry today, but here's what I'm looking at for tomorrow. We'll have these showers well to our west and southwest for right now, but they will continue to build and lift into the area. It'll be more of a 1-2 punch. 2-day event. We'll have the rain to move in tomorrow, part of a warm front. That is going to lift primarily from south to north, and then we'll have a cold front to work its way from west to east, and that'll bring the second round of showers to come in for your Monday, so early Monday for the second half of those showers to come in. So Sunday, Monday are going to be our 2 best rain chances days. For tomorrow, by 9 a.m., nice and dry, so we'll have primarily sunny skies. Those clouds will slowly begin to build in. You'll notice those clouds thickening into, say, midday or so. And then into the afternoon, this is not likely to be widespread, perhaps a couple of downpours here and there. And then into your Sunday evening, we could have a secondary wave to push in. It's likely to be isolated in nature before midnight, drying out overnight into early Monday, and then another batch could come through. And that cold front for Monday could trigger more showers into your Monday afternoon, and those could bring some downpours, perhaps an isolated risk for 1 or 2 storms to turn severe for the day Monday, and that could impact us around that evening rush hour. By Tuesday, you see it here, we'll likely dry out once again into the day Tuesday. Here's a breakdown of the rain chances. So you'll likely need the umbrella for Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. Once again, for your Monday, scattered showers possible by Tuesday. Your rain chances are going way down. We'll look for a dry Tuesday and isolated rain chances for the second half of the week. That includes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and your weekend we could deal with some scattered showers. Overnight tonight, look for temperatures in the low 60s, low and mid 60s out the door tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. Despite the rain chances for tomorrow, we'll have plenty of dry time for those temperatures to surge into the low and mid 80s, right where we should be for this time of year. And as you make those plans to be outside tomorrow, just make sure you are putting on that sunscreen. We will have the UV index at about an 8 tomorrow. At the pool tomorrow, it'll likely be the first part of the day. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures will warm into the low and mid 80s. Tomorrow afternoon, you can see those rain chances will slowly creep up as we get into the afternoon, evening hours, and we'll begin to see the rain chances tapering off. And once again, they'll return for Monday. We may adjust these rain chances slightly as you see it here on the Guide Roofing 7-day forecast. So I have another update tonight at 11 p.m. And we are looking at a dry Tuesday with temperatures near 80 and then a cooler and perhaps a wetter Wednesday. But those rain chances are fairly low now with a high of 78. And the second half of your weekend or week into the weekend will be in the mid 80s.
WCNC Charlotte. This is Flashpoint.
Thanks for joining us here on Flashpoint. I'm Ben Thompson. This week, a sweeping new plan that could transform development in Charlotte went into effect. It's called the Unified Development Ordinance, or the UDO, and it is a massive 600-page document that looks to streamline the city's future development by combining things like housing rules and stormwater requirements into one single document. And there's a lot to cover here. Coming up, we're going to dig into the years of planning that went into the document, and later, why some say changes are still needed. But first, joining us now is the Director of Planning for the City of Charlotte, Allison Craig. It is a daunting job in a city that's growing quite like Charlotte. Allison, thanks for coming on Flashpoint.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
Excited to have you. So we have a lot to talk about. The UDO is a complicated idea that I feel like TV news doesn't always do the best job of describing. So hopefully we'll have a good time sort of laying it out and what it means. I want to start though with a piece of news that might happen in the next few days. On Monday, your team is expected to already present some changes to the UDO that City Council wanted, specifically around duplexes and triplexes. Now, the UDO states that they could be built in any neighborhood, barring some sort of HOA rule or covenant. And supporters were really sort of upset that Council a few weeks ago backtracked. What is your team considering at this point going into next week?
So I don't have anything to share this morning on that, but what I will say is that the referral was pretty specific for large projects in large subdivisions, and so I don't think that it's completely backtracking. It's really looking at a very specific type of development.
So for people who supported the UDO in its current form, you don't think that you're not expecting to make some huge compromise here that would sort of change the essence of it?
No, I mean, I very firmly believe that allowing general density and light touch density, duplexes and triplexes, and infill development in our community is absolutely essential to the challenges of affordability and housing supply that we have here in Charlotte.
That brings me to my next point. When folks ask me about this, and ask me because I'm the newsman, what the UDO is, and I even struggle with it, but I've sort of said it's a way, it's many things, but it's a way to sort of have managed smart growth and added density in the city of Charlotte, hopefully making it more affordable to live in. Granted, depending on your lens, whether you're a developer or things like that, it's different. But is that a fair sort of broad stroke?
Sure, that's a great description. And I think it's always challenging trying to explain a regulatory document. I think a media outlet earlier this week called it boring. And while reading 600 pages of regulatory language might not keep you on the edge of your seat, it is really important as it governs what and where and how development can occur in our community.
And it's very impactful. I mean, it really has a huge impact on people's day-to-day lives going forward. In the long term, do you think, I know you have said that you see this as a living, breathing document. Where do you see, or do you see yet room for growth and change moving forward?
I just want everyone to know that this is intended to be a nimble document. We know it's not perfect, but it is a massive, huge stride forward for the city of Charlotte in managing growth, as well as making sure that the people that are living here today feel included in the growth that's coming. So I'm sure that we will have some updates along the way. I'm sure we'll find some places where it's confusing and we need to provide some clarification. In fact, council already adopted a cleanup text amendment that we proposed that really was just making things easier to understand and administer. But we also know too that things are changing. We have new plans underway. There's going to be an anti-displacement strategy that's brought forward to council committee on Monday. Maybe changes occur because of that. So, and there may be new market ideas that come that will influence future changes. So, I mean, it will be a living document, but for the first time ever in the city's history, we have one set of documents that are guiding growth and development when we haven't really had that before.
I was going to say, I think to help understand how important this is and how impactful it is, contrast it to what it used to be in the last several years and why that was difficult.
So I've worked in many, many cities, both on the planner side as well as on the developer side. And when I came to Charlotte, I found it very confusing to understand what you could do or what might be built next to you, because we lacked a comprehensive vision. Our ordinances were written in different stages over the last 30 years and different documents, often conflicting. And so for the first time, we have a unified vision and a unified development ordinance to really help guide our growth and have both residents as well as developers understand what we're wanting to see in the community.
So far, in seeing a week of media coverage, what do you think is the biggest misconception about this thing?
There's probably a couple, that there'll be duplexes and triplexes everywhere. That's really not true. Many cities allow, what I refer to as gentle density or light touch density, and really haven't seen like large, huge changes. It's incremental changes, but it's also recognizing that not everyone can or wants to live in a single family home, and not everyone can or wants to live in an apartment building. In the last 25 years, we have built very, very little that's in between those two. And it's really important that we have those options for people. But I don't think that suddenly everywhere there's going to be a duplex or a triplex. And we have some studies done that, kind of give us some preliminary numbers. I think the other thing that I hear a lot is that suddenly things will be so much easier for developers and growth will be rampant, or that this new ordinance is so cumbersome that all the developers will leave. And I really think we spent the last 9 months trying to find a balance and making it easier to build the right projects in the right places, while also requiring a greater investment from the developer in things that really enhance and protect our community.
You mentioned developers right then. Leading up to this change 2 days ago, did you see a last-minute rush of developers wanting to get in before the deadline, or did that not really ever be a thing?
We did. We saw a rush, both in the rezoning cases as well as in the permit applications. I mean, people, they know what they know, and this is new, and so it's not that they didn't want to develop under the UDO. In fact, there's a number of people that have been waiting to submit until the UDO was in effect. But people are accustomed to what they've been working with for years, and so yes, we saw an uptick in applications on the 31st.
And to your point, when you talk about duplexes and triplexes, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but for people who think this is a newfangled idea, you could point them to any of Charlotte's historic neighborhoods, whether it's Dilworth, Myers Park, Cherry, Elizabeth, Plaza Midwood, and they have them all.
Yes, even on the street that I live in, there's quadruplexes, triplexes, duplexes all around, and they're just a part of the fabric of our community. And I think it's really important that, I live in a single family home today, but I might not always want to, and I'd like to not necessarily leave my neighborhood if I want to change the type of house I want to live in.
And talk about concerns about gentrification when it comes to this. You talked about displaced people earlier. How does the UDO address that in what is a growing city?
So one of the things we did specifically to duplexes and triplexes, because I think that became a concern, is that we put in some requirements such that building height had to be relative to what's already in the neighborhood. and that the driveways had to look similar to what you would expect in a single family development pattern to really manage and mitigate changes in the neighborhood. So there's things like that. We're also working very closely with Sean Heath and Rebecca Hefner and Housing and Neighborhood Services as they work towards this anti-displacement strategy. But we also have a number of tools in the UDO that can empower residents to work to either enhance or preserve the character of their community. We've got a neighborhood character overlay, which got really popular at council the other night. But there's another one that's more under the radar called residential infill overlay that's probably a lot easier to administer, a lot easier to accomplish, that has some of the same elements. It's just a little faster. And there's several other types of overlays too, like street side, which is like a new historic district, and a cottage court overlay. So there's different types of tools that we have just to help manage change and protect neighborhood character.
And I know it's all sort of abstract when we talk about it on TV, but folks can go to charlotteudo.org and use some of those tools, put in their address. I've done it myself with my home, and it could give you some of the outlines, and then you've got to look a little bit more. It is, for the average person, might be a little confusing, but you can learn a lot really quickly with some of those tools. And I encourage all the folks at home to do that, and then sort of learn a lot about what this is really and what it means for them. All right, Allison, thanks for coming on Flashpoint. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much for having me.
All right, come back soon. More Flashpoint after this.
In other news this evening, CMPD making an arrest in connection to a shooting that killed a man Monday night in the University City area. Jamal Dean was arrested today and now faces charges including murder and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Neighbors living where the homicide happened tell us they want to leave their apartment complex as soon as they can. WCNC Charlotte's Jane Monreal live in the studio. Jane, residents are telling you if they tried to leave, they'd be penalized?
That's right. The family I spoke to, Colin, says that they're trying to buy a house soon, so they don't want to risk getting a negative mark on their credit by breaking the lease. Well, the family moved into the MAA Legacy Park Apartments about 3 years ago. And with 3 months left, they say after Monday night's incident, that's 3 months too long.
Within a week apart.
A hallway inside the Wallace's home is a place of pride and joy. Their son, DJ, throughout his 5 young years of life. And it could have come to an end in an instant on Monday night after Rita Wallace heard an argument outside her front door.
And then I heard a tussle, and I heard my neighbor, I don't know my neighbor, he's begging, pleading for his life, asking the person to not kill him. And then all of a sudden, I heard shots. And my son, who's on the spectrum, when I screamed his name, he didn't respond. And I jumped over the coffee table to get him and just hurried up and tried to get as close to the floor on top of him until the bullets stopped flying.
Now they want out of their lease. Charlotte attorney Gary Monty says the law is on their side with the North Carolina Residential Rental Agreements Act.
So the landlord has a duty to keep the premises safe. And if there's violence or gunfire, they have to take action to remedy that situation, particularly if it's in an ongoing type of situation. And if they don't, they can have liability for that for sure.
But to see their day in court would take time, likely more than the 3 months left on the lease.
Because we don't feel safe here at all.
She says the apartment manager is offering to allow them to transfer to another unit or complex.
But we were held to the lease. And if we felt the need that we needed to break it, then we, pretty much do what you got to do. But you were still going to pursue you legally if you break the lease, which could put us in financial ruins if we do that.
Well, she says paying out the remainder of that lease would cost around $6,000. And on a one-income household, they can't afford it. The front office at the apartment complex says they have no comment. I did also reach out to their corporate office, and I'm waiting to hear back. Live in studio, Jane Monreal, WCNC Charlotte.
The new and improved WCNC Plus, now on Roku and Fire TV. Watch local live newscast, get extended breaking news coverage, and see local programs and specials. The new and improved WCNC Plus, now on Roku and Fire TV.
We start this half hour with a warning to folks. A Union County couple recovering after a fox attack. This happened last Thursday at their home in Wingate. WCNC Charlotte's Kaylin Hagwood spoke with that couple and with a wildlife expert who has tips to protect you and your family.
Don't think a little 8-pound, 9-pound fox can't put a hurting on you, because they can.
Phil and Gail Rollins have lived in this home, nestled in the woods of Wingate, for around 5 years. But this month, they experienced nature like never before.
Phil heard a ruckus out the front door, so he got up and came out. And he kept saying, "Get away, get away, get out of here." And the fox didn't run.
Instead,
went after me. You know, he got me on the back of the leg, got me on my arm.
And it got his wife, too.
I could not get it off of me. I just couldn't.
She says they shot the fox 3 times before a neighbor came over and shot it again, finally putting it down.
Something we don't want to go through again, I can tell you that.
Investigators with the Union County Sheriff's Office say the fox tested positive for rabies.
We have not had any other reports of this fox attacking any other animals. We believe this fox saw the cat, saw the outdoor food, and was attracted to that home for that.
If you see a fox in your yard, wildlife biologist David Crow says,
walk calmly and directly back indoors. Looks rabid, it's acting funny, drunk, stumbly, call animal control.
As for guarding against them,
there's not a lot that you can do other than keeping structure for them to hide in, like wood piles, removed to the back of your property.
The Rollins are now receiving treatment for rabies exposure, hoping their story will put others on alert.
Be wary of any animal. It's wild animal, because you just don't know.
Well, after a couple of scary days inside, the family finally starting to get out again and enjoy their property, hoping to never experience this again. Reporting here in Wingate, Kaylin Hagwood, WCNC Charlotte.
Well, drug dealers are selling fentanyl in the form of powders and pills, but now they're adding a dangerous animal tranquilizer to it, and it's known by its street name, Trank. When ingested by humans, the effects could be deadly. The DEA releasing shocking statistics about Xylazine and how it's making its way through the United States. And data shows it is in North Carolina. WCNC Charlotte's Austin Walker joining us in the studio with a closer look at the drug and what we are seeing across the state.
This map shows where Xylazine has been found, stretching from the eastern part of the state all the way to Charlotte. Counties in our area warning the public about Xylazine. But to understand why it is here, we need to show you where it started. And we want to warn you, some of the images you will be seeing might be disturbing. We take you back to the early 2000s. In the heart of San Juan, Puerto Rico, the streets are lively. But it's what we can't see that's now killing people.
But it was really only on the island of Puerto Rico for over a decade.
It's called Xylazine, or the street name Trank, a powerful sedative and pain reliever, an epidemic sweeping the island. And now it's here in North Carolina.
You know, you didn't hear about Xylazine being cut into drugs other places.
Dealers are cutting street drugs like fentanyl and heroin with Xylazine, a way to stretch supply, making it more affordable to buy and sell. The result, a strong high for the user.
In humans, it seems to slow blood pressure down. It can really kind of make people very drowsy or straight up unconscious.
And in the worst cases, open wounds so deep you can see bone.
It starts with just sort of a black patch under the skin and sort of like almost like a blister with a lot of fluid in it. And then from there, that blister with fluid kind of breaks, and then a thick scab known as eschar forms over that wound.
The DEA issuing a warning about humans ingesting Trank because that's a far cry from its intended use.
Its technical term is an alpha-2 agonist. We briefly discussed.
Dr. Samantha Stanley, a veterinarian in Charlotte, is very familiar with Xylazine.
We use it a lot in horses.
So dangerous, it's only given to animals under careful observation.
Ideally, we would be monitoring blood pressure, heart rate, respiratory rate, because that's what these drugs do, is they decrease those things, and if they get too low, that potentially can be deadly.
But now, humans are ingesting it, and many don't even know it.
I guess I wasn't surprised.
This drug now added to a list of veterinary drugs like fentanyl in canine cases that are misused by people.
A large majority of them are starting to get controlled and starting to be abused.
From Puerto Rico, Xylazine moved to the mainland.
And then started showing up first in Philly.
You're not screaming like before, that's a plus sign.
In the largest open-air drug market in the Northeast, fentanyl and heroin plague the area, but now Xylazine is in the mix. According to data by Substance Abuse Philly, in 2021, over 90% of drug samples taken in Philadelphia contained tranq.
There's a lot of Puerto Rican and Dominicans in the drug trade in Philadelphia.
And those cases are now bleeding into where we live. At UNC Chapel Hill, you'll find the Street Drug Analysis Lab, a team of experts testing samples off the street.
There is some powdery residue left behind.
They can identify what is really in there. It's one of the few labs testing for tranq.
A lot of people aren't aware that this is being cut into the fentanyl that they're using.
Colin Miller says the lab works with agencies across the state to collect samples.
They can tell their participants to bring in, residue in the corner of a baggie or, small, like a used cotton from an injection.
So they know what is showing up in North Carolina. According to the lab, over the past year, out of 551 samples taken, 130 came back positive for tranq, almost 25%.
North Carolina is more than likely headed for where we see Philadelphia.
This map showing where the drug has been found, highlighting counties like Mecklenburg. Across state lines into South Carolina, the Lancaster County Sheriff's Office issued a warning about Xylazine with this frightening footnote. Because it's not an opioid, its deadly effects cannot be reversed by using Narcan, the standard antidote for those kinds of overdoses.
It might restore their breathing, but they might still be unconscious.
We reached out to CMPD's Vice Unit, asking for an interview multiple times, wanting to know if it's targeting this drug. They declined. While at first it was a problem beneath the surface, Xylazine is in the Carolinas, as loud as the streets where it originated. So there is no question, Xylazine is here. Coming up tomorrow at 11, we take you inside an addiction recovery center. Those who work there tell us it's like a storm that came out of nowhere. Austin Walker, WCNC Charlotte.
When I think about the community, I think about the time that I've been here. I've been in this community almost my entire adult life. So you get to know the people. When you know what they care about, then that's what you care about. This community looks at all of us who do weather here at WCNC Charlotte as part of their family. And when you're part of their family, you want to make sure you do it just for them.
When I can bring some good news. And I must say that the top city is in North Carolina. You're going to have to wait for that because I'm counting down. So here are the most affordable U.S. cities to live. There are 5 of them. And this is where they are, mostly in the Midwest and South on this list, or all in the Midwest and South, rather. So, yep, great schools and great parks. So that's the criteria, as well as 25%, less than 25% of the income is spent on housing in these cities. So here's the criteria. I'm going to show you the metro area population, the average salary of someone living in that area, and the percentage of income spent on housing. So let's start with the 5th one. At number 5 is Fort Wayne, Indiana. 415,887 people. The average salary is a little over $50,000. The percentage of income spent on housing is 20.7. 4th, Huntsville, Alabama, where the population is 483,366 people. The average salary there, a little bit higher, $61,140, and the percentage of income spent on housing a little lower there, 19.62%. 3rd, Huntington, West Virginia, Ashland, Kentucky, that's the metro area there. Smaller population there and less salary for, on average, $45,520, and the income spent, percentage of income is a little bit higher at 20.69%. The second place, Youngstown, Ohio. The population is 542,459. The salaries average $45,000 and 20.29% income spent on housing. Are you ready for the number one?
Mm-hmm.
Have any guesses?
Raleigh.
Is it in our area at all? Oh,
That's not a guess.
I know that's not a guess.
Okay.
Sorry.
Raleigh and Hickory.
I knew it would be in our area.
I didn't know. All right.
Hickory, North Carolina comes in at number one, and it's 364,877 people who live there. The average salary is $44,470, and look at how low the percentage of income ratio is. 18.95% of income there is spent on housing. So it's probably a really good time to move to Hickory, and that's the most affordable U.S. cities to live.
And you can stock your house really easily because there's a lot of furniture that's made in Hickory. It's like
exactly
the furniture
right.
capital of the United States.
That's the biggest criteria.
So you can live and you can
furnish.
Have furniture. Yeah, I was going to say you can have furniture.
No, that's really cool though.
It is. It is. All right. Thank you, Carolyn.
Yep.
As we inch closer to a decision from the Supreme Court on the Biden administration's request to forgive up to $20,000 in student loans, many borrowers will begin to pay back their debts starting this September.
That's right. For years under the CARES Act, as it's called, and because of the pandemic, loans have been in forbearance since then. Debt experts are saying that Americans with federal loans should prepare now for the impending payments so they're not left asking, where's the money?
Beginning in September, you will receive a bill and a notice to start paying.
Wrapped in the debt ceiling bill that was passed last week in the 11th hour, a provision that federal student loan borrowers could start expecting to make payments this September.
It is something that both parties would use in order to negotiate their positions.
Leslie Tane is an expert on debt. Her law firm actually helps people with debt consolidation. She says that date is something Americans should prepare for now, before a bill is even in the mail.
In order to determine what program that you would qualify for through the federal government, whether it's a forbearance, a deferment, an income-driven program, federal student loan forgiveness programs, you need to know what your budget is.
She says legislators compromised between the Biden administration's push to relieve the burden of student debt on Americans, while other lawmakers were concerned about the economy and the cost of canceling millions in debt.
The concern, obviously, is the cost ultimately to taxpayers and the American people on what the impact will have by forgiving millions and millions of dollars in federal student loan money.
Tane says Americans should contact the federal loan servicers to find out about programs that fit their budget while waiting for the Supreme Court decision in June, a decision that politicians in Washington won't interfere with, whether it's for or against forgiveness.
If the Supreme Court decides that he did have the authority and the program is going to go through as it is, then students can expect to get a forgiveness of up to $20,000. The majority will be up to $10,000.
Since the forbearance, many of the programs have changed to repay federal loans, along with the parameters of those programs. Tane says it's a good idea to do your research right now. Also, scammers will look to take advantage of this new change. Anyone contacting you by phone or text message asking for sensitive information is not associated usually with the federal government.
Hey YouTube, this is Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here at WCNC Charlotte. We want you to head over to our Weather IQ YouTube page, where we're making you smarter and safer. We have a passion for weather science, and we want you to understand what's happening when the weather changes, because in the end, that's what keeps you safe. It's not about being scared, it's about being informed. Browse our collection of fun and informative clips and look for new segments every week. We're here to raise your weather IQ. Experience the difference on WCNC Charlotte.
I know it says today was a great day to be out there because you're looking at some changes for tomorrow.
Jane, big changes are coming for tomorrow, but it's not going to be all day. I can tell you now, the rain that's expected for your Sunday will be the second half of your day. So Sunday morning into midday, your plans should go without a hitch for the first part of your day tomorrow. That includes your Sunday morning services, perhaps brunch, any activities up until about 2 to 3 o'clock. Then we could see that first batch of rain. And I do anticipate those showers to come in waves. We'll get to that in just a minute as we look at Futurecast. But right now, it is is a gorgeous start to the weekend. Plenty of sunshine. Those temperatures are really, really nice for this time of year, in the low and mid 80s across the board. Now, we are dry today, but here's what I'm looking at for tomorrow. We'll have these showers well to our west and southwest for right now, but they will continue to build and lift into the area. It'll be more of a 1-2 punch. 2-day event. We'll have the rain to move in tomorrow, part of a warm front. That is going to lift primarily from south to north, and then we'll have a cold front to work its way from west to east, and that'll bring the second round of showers to come in for your Monday, so early Monday, for the second half of those showers to come in. So Sunday, Monday are going to be our 2 best rain chances days. For tomorrow, by 9 a.m., nice and dry, so we'll have primarily sunny skies. Those clouds will slowly begin to build in. You'll notice those clouds thickening into, say, midday or so. And then into the afternoon, this is not likely to be widespread, perhaps a couple of downpours here and there. And then into your Sunday evening, we could have a secondary wave to push in. It's likely to be isolated in nature before midnight, drying out overnight into early Monday, and then another batch could come through. And that cold front for Monday could trigger more showers into your Monday afternoon, and those could bring some downpours, perhaps an isolated risk for 1 or 2 storms to turn severe for the day Monday, and that could impact us around that evening rush hour. By Tuesday, you see it here, we'll likely dry out once again into the day Tuesday. Here's a breakdown of the rain chances. So you'll likely need the umbrella for Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. Once again, for your Monday, scattered showers possible. By Tuesday, your rain chances are going way down. We'll look for a dry Tuesday and isolated rain chances for the second half of the week. That includes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and your weekend we could deal with some scattered showers. Overnight tonight, look for temperatures in the low 60s, low and mid 60s out the door tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. Despite the rain chances for tomorrow, we'll have plenty of dry time for those temperatures to surge into the low and mid 80s, right where we should be for this time of year. And as you make those plans to be outside tomorrow, just make sure you are putting on that sunscreen. We will have the UV index at about an 8 tomorrow. At the pool tomorrow, it'll likely be the first part of the day. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures will warm into the low and mid 80s. Tomorrow afternoon, you can see those rain chances will slowly creep up as we get into the afternoon, evening hours, and we'll begin to see the rain chances tapering off. And once again, they'll return for Monday. We may adjust these rain chances slightly as you see it here on the Guy Roofing 7-day forecast. So I have another update tonight at 11 p.m. And we are looking at a dry Tuesday with temperatures near 80, and then a cooler and perhaps a wetter Wednesday. But those rain chances are fairly low now with a high of 78. And the second half of your weekend or week into the weekend will be in the mid 80s.
Safety and dangerous workplace conditions continue to be concerns for employees of the Charlotte Area Transit Service. Bus drivers planning to have a rally this afternoon, but there was a change in plans. Workers and supporters still gathering to make sure they had their voices heard. This all coming after a string of violence on CATS buses. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre in studio tonight with more on their concerns.
Bus drivers say they should not be dealing with conditions where their lives are at stake while doing their jobs. Today, several supporters came together to speak up and call for better protections for drivers.
There was an incident that regardless of the outcome, a loss of a job or a potential loss of a life were the only 2 options. As a city, I believe we deserve to give the operators more than just an option.
Calls for safety heightened following a shootout between a passenger and a bus driver on May 18. CMPD says a passenger asked the driver to get off the bus in between stops. The bus driver refused. A verbal altercation turned into this. Surveillance video shows the passenger pull out a gun. The driver then pulled out a weapon and both fired several times. The passenger in the video was arrested and faces several charges related to the shooting.
These are public servants who unfortunately are having to put their lives on the line day in and day out to provide transportation for the members of this community.
Attorney Ken Harris has represented several bus drivers, including David Fullard, the bus driver who lost his job with cats following the shooting. Per the agency's policy, bus operators are not allowed to carry weapons while working. Saturday, bus drivers came together, locked arms in prayer, wearing shirts with the words "We drive and we want to survive" on the back, #Bus Drivers Lives Matter.
They just want to do their jobs and they want to get home safely. Isn't it time for the system to do what's necessary to protect and respect them?
This is not the first time drivers faced violence on the job, nor is it the first time they demanded for action to be taken. They say their voices aren't being heard when it comes to safety concerns.
It has also been said that the trainings that have been put forth for the operators to defend themselves have been ill administered. You cannot give someone a broken wrench and tell them to build.
Bus drivers and supporters say they will keep fighting until the proper measures are in place to protect the lives of those behind the wheel.
What I will not do is to continue to have these meaningless conversations. What I will not do is continue to have these conversations fall on deaf ears. We are operators here in this city that deserves respect and dignity.
Now, interim CEO Brent Cagle and some city leaders have also spoken up about safety and say they are committed to stepping up security efforts and employee trainings, as well as upgrading video systems to better protect drivers. Meanwhile, a rally is expected to take place in the future. No date has been set. Jessie Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
Welcome back. Let's talk Where's the Money? And this one has to do with robocalls. We've all gotten those calls, right? Where they call you, they don't stop, it's relentless. How about those ones where there's like one digit off from your own phone number? They're trying to trick you. These are all scams. So let's talk about it. How to avoid these robocall scams, because that's really what we want to do. The first one, just don't answer. It's very simple. I made this up. If the number's unknown, leave it alone. You like it?
Dr.
But that's really what you should do. So if you don't, I'm trying here. If you don't know the caller and you look at the number and you're like, that doesn't look familiar, just don't answer it. There's no harm in that, and it will protect you in many ways. The second thing, take no questions. No questions, please. Do not respond to any questions, especially ones you can answer with a yes or a no. Now, protect your information. Do not be fooled by even the most sophisticated scammer pretending or impersonating to be someone who's legitimate and reputable. Never give out any personal information to a random caller, ever. The fourth thing is get some help. Call the phone company, because the phone company will have call blocking tools. And this also goes for your cell service company as well. And then research apps. Brad was just talking about this. He's got multiple apps on his phone that actually stop or either identify the robocalls so you know before you pick up. The fifth thing is sign up for this. This has been around for a while, and if you haven't signed up, it's a must. So register your number on the National Do Not Call Registry. That's at donotcall.gov, because we want to avoid robocall scams.
Yeah, something that I know a lot of folks, and with technology, the emerging technology, right? They've gotten better at it, and it's hard for us to...
it's like they keep advancing how sophisticated their schemes and scams
how to disseminate who's calling you and who's not. Carolyn, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Well, the Carter Work Project to benefit Habitat for Humanity is returning to Charlotte, with WCNC Charlotte as a proud partner. Volunteers will come together to build 39 new homes at an affordable housing development near the airport in West Charlotte.
Now, most of the construction will happen the first week of October, and the neighborhood is actually going up on land with very special meaning here. WCNC Charlotte's Sarah French shares how Habitat is seeking solutions to this affordable housing crisis.
This field of dirt will soon be home sweet home for dozens of families. It's the site of a new affordable housing development, 39 single-family homes.
This is something that has been envisioned for years.
Habitat for Humanity of Charlotte CEO Laura Belcher says the land has special meaning.
The land actually is the former site of the Plato Price School, which had many great prominent graduates from the African American community in the 50s and 60s.
Some of the students were interviewed for a Habitat video as the housing project moved forward.
My name is Eddie Lee Hoover, MD. I'm a proud product of Plato Price High School.
I am Nellie Ashford, class of 1961, the greatest class of Plato Price High School.
Founded in 1915, Plato Price School stood as the centerpiece to a once thriving black neighborhood in West Charlotte. The school was named in honor of Mr. Plato Price, a Mecklenburg County Board of Education member and a staunch advocate for education opportunities for African American children. The school had several notable alumni, including prominent cardiothoracic surgeon Dr. Eddie L. Hoover, renowned folk artist Nellie Ashford, and former Congressman Mel Watt.
Plato Price High School had a sense of pride. It was a very tight community.
But the school closed its doors in 1966 as part of Charlotte-Mecklenburg School Board's desegregation plan. The city of Charlotte acquired the land in 1983, and the school was demolished.
The land has really sat vacant, and so the city of Charlotte and Habitat partnered, and we were able to secure the donation of the land from the city and then envision what this could be, a best and highest calling for the land, and 39 homes is the way we're going to go.
The neighborhood will be called the Meadows at Plato Price, and it's located in a spot where affordable houses are desperately needed. In this part of Charlotte, the average rate of homeownership is just 26% compared to the rest of the county, which is at 57%. Black Charlotteans are far more likely to be homeless than the average resident. Out of almost 2,700 people who are homeless in Charlotte-Mecklenburg, more than 3/4 are black. Hoover says he would like to see the Plato Price Alumni Association have a mentoring presence in this new community.
The reason why Plato Price produced really was a significantly large number of successful students. Our teaching staff, the way they shepherded us, the way they encouraged us. So they're the ones who talked to us about, encouraged us to do, not just go to college, but just do things in high school to make us better citizens, make us more full-rounded people.
Almost 60 years after Plato Price School closed its doors, a new neighborhood is opening, bringing a new start for so many.
It makes me feel indescribably happy to know that now that property where I walked, there are new people coming and gonna revitalize the area and have a sense of home. It makes me feel good inside. It makes my heart beat differently to know that now, rather than just look at an empty field, I'm gonna see people with homes and with children for our future.
For WCNC Charlotte, I'm Sarah French.
Well, it is vacation season, right? You saved your hard-earned money and planned for months, but it's likely you haven't thought much about keeping your electronic devices and the info they contain secure during that trip.
Well, thankfully, WCNC Charlotte's Carolyn Bruck is here with some tech travel tips that we all need to know so we're not left asking, where's the money?
Yes, because the last thing on your mind is probably keeping your electronic devices safe, right? You're excited, It's vacation time. So let's talk about tech tips for travel. This comes to us from the Better Business Bureau. The first thing you need to do is back up your files. Do it before you take the trip and then during the trip. Why? Well, if you unfortunately maybe get your phone lost or stolen, you can still have those files for you when you get your new phone back at home. The second, charge wisely. You'll be in an airport or a busy, say, train station, bus station, and your phone is on 2%. So you're going to want to charge it. If you didn't bring your own charger, though, you're going to want to wait for later, because avoid those public cords and USB ports. If you must use them, restrict sharing data when charging, because cyber criminals use those ports as a way to steal all of your information. The third thing, adjust settings. So you're going to want to turn on Find My Phone features and turn off auto join for Wi-Fi. Use passwords. Think about this also for like your kids' iPads and things like that. Make sure that your devices are password protected to unlock them. Run updates. So before you leave for your trip, make sure that your operating systems and your antivirus software is up to date. Always log out. One of those things that's very convenient about, Airbnbs or hotels is they have smart TVs, and smart TVs have streaming apps. You log into your Netflix account or Hulu account or whatever, and you forget to log out, that's not going to be good. So make sure if you're logging in to log out. The last, beware of Wi-Fi. Do not make any purchases on your devices or log into any bank accounts or things with important information if you're using public Wi-Fi. And those are some tech tips for travel.
Especially the backup stuff. You can back up to the cloud, maybe a couple other places as well, just so you have it, but those are great tips as well.
Yeah, indeed. I was just in the airport. I found myself scrutinizing the USB port. I'm serious.
Right,
so
because
it's good to know.
And you shouldn't use it, even if you're desperate.
Right, you really shouldn't. All right, thanks for watching out for us, Carolyn. We appreciate it.
WCNC Charlotte. Weather is a kind of science that you get to see and experience every day. And I think some people don't even realize how much it affects them. That weather has a huge impact on how it threatens your family, your livelihood, or your home. So I think it really is one of those defining things we do that really affects everybody in our community. See the difference. That process of giving you a warning ahead of time and keeping you and your family safe is really important to me because I live here too. It's my family, it's my friends, it's my neighbors.
Welcome back. Let's talk where's the money. We are constantly talking about things that are more expensive because let's face it, just about everything is more expensive these days. And that is why I am bringing you the things that are on sale this June. We could all use some deals in our life, right? How about this? Do you check this out? Custom photo gifts.
Who's that?
That's you and Vanessa.
I gotta get a new picture, man.
Well, in case you want to get a mug of yourself, custom photo gifts. This is actually for Father's Day. Oh. The whole point is give dad something personalized. You can get these custom photo gifts. The average discount is 45% right now. The second thing, home and garden products. This is ahead of the Father's Day holiday. Things like gardening tools, tools for the house, home improvement products. The average discount on that, 30% off. Outdoor gear. You might not think that this would be the time because this is the time where it's super popular to buy camping equipment and things like that, but actually this is what these outdoor gear shops, they use June as the kickoff to summer, and so they want to push some of that inventory out, and you can find 25% off. We're talking things like hiking boots, inflatable pools, things like that. Casual clothing. If you need to, and spring clothing as well, so you'll get some discounts on spring clothing, but casual clothing, like basics for summer, you can pick that up for 24%. That's very specific. And what about sunglasses? We all need sunglasses when the summertime hits, that's for sure. Now, yes, it is true that you will get a bigger discount at the end of the season, so when summer's over, but leading up to the 4th of July holiday, when they have big sales, that's when you can find the best discounts. So the end of June, you'll be able to get 15% off there. And that is what's on sale this month.
It's good to see there's no ties on that list. A lot of dads get ties, you know what I mean?
Dads get ties, or there's such the stereotypes, right? It's dads with ties. The cards are always like, or tools, or remote controls. Dads do a lot of different things. They have a lot of interests. So get your dad what he wants, like a Colin and Vanessa mug.
There we go. I don't know if he wants to drink out of that.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Carolyn, thank you. Love it. All right, still ahead. And tonight at 6, pending legislation could soon help the Mecklenburg County District Attorney here hire more prosecutors to help clear out the criminal court's backlog. Thanks for joining us here at 6. I'm Colin Mayfield.
And I'm Vanessa Rufus. Right now in Mecklenburg County, it's actually taking up to 5 years for someone charged with murder to get before a jury. But North Carolina legislators are taking action to fight this after a story we did highlighting the court backlog.
That's right. WCNC Charlotte's Michelle Bowden has been on this story for years, joining us now with the latest attempt at seeking solutions.
This is a pretty big step in tackling a pretty big problem, getting more money for prosecutors. The DA calls it fair pay based on the cost of living.
It's a wonderful innovation that's come out of Raleigh. I don't say that often, but I'm saying that today.
Mecklenburg County's district attorney says he's grateful for pending legislation that he believes will mean big changes for his office and the community.
At this time where we're facing some of the gravest challenges with regard to recruitment and retention, that locality pay idea would help us a lot.
Locality pay would bump up salaries for public defenders and prosecutors based on the cost of living in their city. Representative Terry Brown just introduced the bill trying to make it happen.
And it requires to be able to have enough to deal with the backlog our courts have. So in order to deal with some of that glut, we want to make sure we can hire new folks and keep the folks we do have.
The DA says between COVID delays and staffing shortages, his office is overwhelmed with hundreds of people charged with felonies awaiting trial and people charged with murder now waiting up to 6 years before facing a jury. We first brought the issue to Representative Brown a few months ago.
So I'm looking forward to going back and talking with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle.
This legislation is what he calls his first effort at fixing the backlog.
It's important. You know, DAs all across the state are suffering shortages.
There have been a number of people who, by the time we get to the point of salary and what I can offer them, have said, walked out of the door. And they say, I want to do this work and I want to do it here, but I just can't afford it.
The feds already use this kind of system, and so do most other jurisdictions across the country. North Carolina is one of a few states where court officials are paid through the state and not locally, where pay can be adjusted based on the cost of living.
It's really about equity. A prosecutor that starts their career as a prosecutor in Charlotte versus one who starts their career in Robinson County, for instance. Robinson County, from day one, with a $55,000 starting salary, they can put a down payment on a house. Here, you're going to need a couple of roommates in order to do that and live sustainably.
Brown believes it's possible the bill could pass this year, finally giving at least something of a break to a badly bogged down court system. Right now, the DA's office has 9 open positions they've been struggling to fill for a while now. And the DA says this locality pay is something he believes should be used across the board for all kinds of state jobs, especially in the criminal field. Reporting in Charlotte, Michelle Bowden, WCNC Charlotte.
Connect the dots and let us clear up the confusion. We're here to make sure the news makes sense. And with Connect the Dots, you'll understand how the headlines impact your family. See the difference on WCNC Charlotte.
Well, tonight, a Gastonia church is facing legal trouble. It is a place that also serves as a campground and home to dozens of homeless people there. The city is suing the ministry for failing to comply with several ordinances, including violations like trash and debris on the property. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre is there with more.
City leaders say they do not have a problem with the ministry serving the homeless population, but to just follow the rules. While the ministry says they just want to serve people in need, and what they need is support from the city, not roadblocks and fines.
It could be me. It could very easily be me. I had a couple brothers to pass away from being caught up in drug activity. And so with that being said, you know, I'll never forget them. And this is one way to always remember them.
Pastor Moses Colbert runs Faith, Hope, and Love Community Enrichment Ministries, serving the homeless population for 20 years, providing food, clothing, and shelter on the church's campus.
You get nourishment, I get shelter here, and I get love, and understanding. That, you know, if I'd been on the road out there, I probably would have been dead.
Linda Fralick is one of them. She says she's been living in a tent on the property for the last 6 months.
Man.
The ministry is currently in a court battle with the city of Gastonia for not following city ordinances, including having these trailers on the lot without the proper permits.
I do know that there's a growing concern about the safety of the individuals who are on that property. The people that use those tents behind the church.
City Councilman Robert Kellogg says homelessness is a major problem in the city, and they support efforts to help this population, but legally. He says they are concerned about the well-being of those camping out on the property.
Are these folks being properly cared for? Are they able to receive the services that they need? Is help being hindered? When EMS and the police and fire are called out there day after day after day, are they getting the services that they need?
Kellogg says the ministry is facing about $60,000 in fines for not being in compliance.
This is what we're going to have our group therapies at.
Meanwhile, Pastor Colbert says the city should be working with them to get the resources they need to help this vulnerable population, not fighting against them.
We just want to be able to help people, because that's what ministry, real ministry, is finding a need and meeting that need. And that's what we have to do.
Meanwhile, until the church is in compliance with the city's ordinances, fines keep growing. They are facing anywhere from $100 to $300 of fines every day. In Gastonia, Jesse Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
The U.S. added 339,000 jobs in May, exceeding industry estimates and marking the 29th straight month of positive job growth. That's according to the Department of Labor. One industry driving job growth in North Carolina is beer. According to a Beer Serves America report, the industry supports more than 75,000 jobs. WCNC Charlotte's Caitlin Hagwood shows us the economic impact and what analysts say is needed to keep the taps flowing.
Beer is big business in the Tar Heel State. A new Beer Serves America report shows the industry supports more than 75,000 jobs and contributes more than $12.8 billion to the state's economy.
Beer's been around since the beginning of the United States and prior to that, and it continues to be the #1 beverage in America for adults.
Tim Kent leads the North Carolina Beer and Wine Wholesalers Association and says the impact goes beyond the beverage by supporting jobs in manufacturing, retail, distribution, and more.
It's a fast-moving industry. There are a lot of new entrants to the business. We have 500 craft brewers in North Carolina, and they're all having a major impact.
One challenge is finding the right people to help.
We're having difficulty hiring and keeping CDL drivers who can then transport the beer to the marketplace. If there's one big challenge that we face in the industry right now, it's available labor.
Despite this, Kent says the report shows growth and resilience for an industry with a place in American culture.
Beer continues to have a lasting impact on the North Carolina and the United States economies. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Caitlin Hagwood, WCNC Charlotte.
I know it says today was a great day to be out there because you're looking at some changes for tomorrow.
Jane, big changes are coming for tomorrow, but it's not going to be all day. I can tell you now, the rain that's expected for your Sunday will be the second half of your day. So Sunday morning into midday, your plans should go without a hitch for the first part of your day tomorrow. That includes your Sunday morning services, perhaps brunch, any activities up until about 2 to 3 o'clock. Then we could see that first batch of rain. And I do anticipate those showers to come in waves. We'll get to that in just a minute as we look at Futurecast. But right now, it is a gorgeous start to the weekend. Plenty of sunshine. Those temperatures are really, really nice for this time of year in the low and mid 80s across the board. Now, we are dry today, but here's what I'm looking at for tomorrow. We'll have these showers well to our west and southwest for right now, but they will continue to build and lift into the area. It'll be more of a 1-2 punch. 2-day event. We'll have the rain to move in tomorrow, part of a warm front. That is going to lift primarily from south to north, and then we'll have a cold front to work its way from west to east, and that'll bring the second round of showers to come in for your Monday, so early Monday, for the second half of those showers to come in. So Sunday, Monday are going to be our 2 best rain chances days. For tomorrow, by 9 a.m., nice and dry, so we'll have primarily sunny skies. Those clouds will slowly begin to build in. You'll notice those clouds thickening into, say, midday or so. And then into the afternoon, this is not likely to be widespread, perhaps a couple of downpours here and there. And then into your Sunday evening, we could have a secondary wave to push in. It's likely to be isolated in nature before midnight, drying out overnight into early Monday, and then another batch could come through. And that cold front for Monday could trigger more showers into your Monday afternoon, and those could bring some downpours, perhaps an isolated risk for 1 or 2 storms to turn severe for the day Monday, and that could impact us around that evening rush hour. By Tuesday, you see it here, we'll likely dry out once again into the day Tuesday. Here's a breakdown of the rain chances. So you'll likely need the umbrella for Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. Once again, for your Monday, scattered showers possible. By Tuesday, your rain chances are going way down. We'll look for a dry Tuesday and isolated rain chances for the second half of the week. That includes Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and your weekend we could deal with some scattered showers. Overnight tonight, look for temperatures in the low 60s, low and mid 60s out the door tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, despite the rain chances for tomorrow, we'll have plenty of dry time for those temperatures to surge into the low and mid 80s, right where we should be for this time of year. And as you make those plans to be outside tomorrow, just make sure you are putting on that sunscreen. We will have the UV index at about an 8 tomorrow. At the pool tomorrow, it'll likely be the first part of the day. We'll have a mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures will warm into the low and mid 80s. Tomorrow afternoon, you can see those rain chances will slowly creep up as we get into the afternoon, evening hours, and we'll begin to see the rain chances tapering off. And once again, they'll return for Monday. We may adjust these rain chances slightly as you see it here on the Guide Roof and 7-day forecast. So I have another update tonight at 11 p.m. And we are looking at a dry Tuesday with temperatures near 80, and then a cooler and perhaps a wetter Wednesday. But those rain chances are fairly low now with a high of 78. And the second half of your weekend or week into the weekend will be in the mid 80s.
Hurricane season starts tomorrow and typically peaks around August through October. Before the season officially begins, we're getting a first-hand look into the power of one of these storms. Chris, turning the winds up to a low-end Category 4 in this week's Weather IQ.
We're here at the Aerodyne Wind Tunnel, and what are we going to do? We're going to demonstrate the power of a hurricane's winds. We're going to go from tropical storm 1, 2, 3, and then max it out at a low end 4 at 130 miles per hour. All right, it's getting real. All right, let's experience a hurricane. This is the Aerodyne Wind Tunnel, 250 feet long, 2,500 horsepower. The main thing about this simulator, you don't have the rain, you don't have the debris. This is just showing the pure power of the winds. Okay, let's do this. This would be tropical storm strength. You can walk. Picture this as a strong thunderstorm pushing through the area. But once you get to 74 miles per hour, that's Category 1. Let's go Category 1. You can feel the difference. A Category 1 is going to rip off shingles, roof tiles. Let's go Category 2. A Category 2 hurricane is winds at 96 to 110 miles per hour. I can't walk forward on my own. Debris can be thrown into windows. I can barely speak. It's an extremely dangerous situation to be outside. Let's go major. Ramp it up to Category 3. You can feel the difference. You can feel the difference. Roofs can be blown off. Let's go to the map. This would be Category 4. Both Category 4 and 5 hurricanes produce catastrophic damage and can leave areas uninhabitable for weeks, even months. The power of wind increases exponentially. Just look what it does to my face as we increase to major hurricane status. Cute, right? Something I truly never want to experience in real life, but thanks to Aerodyne for showing us the force of a hurricane. I'm meteorologist Chris Mulcahy, WCNC Charlotte.
Wow.
Well, if you want to keep boosting your weather IQ, or if you just want to look at Chris again in Category 4 hurricane, but who doesn't want to see that? Get out your phone, scan the QR code there on the lower hand right. It'll take you to our Weather IQ YouTube page.
And to reiterate, there was no wind, there was no debris, and it was crazy. The strap was just hitting against me. You had like little blood spots on the side of you just because of how strong the winds were. You could actually feel it. I could feel like almost a little part of my t-shirt just like whipping against the skin.
Stop.
And that's just fabric. So just putting that in perspective, and also wind exponentially increases. So the damage done from say 75 to 100 is 10 times. When you go 75 to about 150, that can be up to 1,000 times the impact of the damage.
I went out of Category 1.
Larry did it,
I said, Chris could do that. Now, many years ago I did that. I said, no, this time I just could do it. Man, would have got to Category 1. I said, okay.
I would have liked to have seen Larry's hair in a Category 4.
It still wouldn't move. We should say, though, this is a really cool facility up in Mooresville.
It's amazing.
Really neat place. Really neat place.
They do an incredible thing. You know, they do a lot of testing for NASCAR and wind. But the interesting thing, the wind is not blowing at you. It's actually, remember, it's sucked towards you.
Yep.
But it's not directly in front of you, the big wind tunnel itself.
Okay.
Big thanks to Aerodyne. Thank you.
As you and your family head outside and enjoy camps in the summer sun, you might have some buzzing friends circling around. For years, movies and TV shows would suggest you jump into water to escape the bees. But is this actually the best way to stay safe? Here's our Megan Bragg with this morning's Verify.
Bees are a vital part of our ecosystem, but if you encounter a swarm of them, you'll want to know how to keep from getting stung. So our question is, if you're being attacked by a swarm of bees, should you jump into a pool of water?
Our source is Nathan Chapman, museum specialist at the Schill Museum, and a 2016 article from Scientific American.
Okay, so before we can answer this question, it's important to first understand the two types of bee swarms.
Nathan Chapman says if you destroy or disturb a beehive, that's when you might get an aggressive bee swarm. If you notice the bees are just trying to make a new hive, you don't have to worry about them.
Aggressive swarm, get as far as possible. The other kind of swarm, like they're dividing, making new hives, remain calm and just try and stay out of the area.
According to the Scientific American, if you accidentally disturb an existing hive, you need to run immediately. If you can, try to get into an enclosed shelter like a car or run until the bees stop following you. Chapman says bees will do anything to stay near their hive.
If the beehive is really close to water, they're going to hang around that area for like very long time, several hours. Trying to get into water and try and swim away, it'd be better to run around the pond on the outside because you're faster.
For the most part, Chapman says if you spot a swarm of bees near your home or office, they're likely just trying to build a new hive.
So leaving them alone, remaining calm, because that swarm can be there for a number of hours or up to days, depending on how long it takes for them to find a new home.
If you discover a swarm of bees have made a hive near where you live, Chapman suggests calling a local beekeeper to safely remove them from your property. So we can verify, no, if you are being chased by an angry swarm of bees, you should not jump in water to escape them. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
If you have something you'd like us to verify, all you got to do, it's easy, email us at verify@wcnc.com.
Let's talk about this. The Charlotte area transit system continuing to struggle with staffing shortages.
And it is making some changes to some of its service hours because of that. So folks can expect to see changes to CAT's rail and bus services. This is the agency hopes to recruit more people and sort out a number of other concerns, including safety.
That's right. Yeah. So WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre taking a look at the impacts of this, new at 6 tonight.
Staffing has created some challenges for CATS, and that is why city and transportation leaders say they are offering more competitive packages and working so hard to get folks on board.
We've also authorized more money for compensation, which should help us with the new recruitment, but it takes a little lead time to get the new people on staff and trained up.
Staffing continues to be a challenge for the Charlotte area transit system.
We have a shortage of staff. That has caused some correspondence to take place with NCDOT and the possibility to arise that we might have to adjust schedules in order to maintain staffing levels.
The agency is facing multiple violations for failing to comply with the overtime policy. This also comes at a time when CATS put a mandatory PTO in place after the NCDOT directed the agency to properly staff its rail operating center or to stop operations.
If we fail to have a minimum of 2 staff available when we have 3 requirements or stations in the rock, that could lead to further action up to and including a recommendation to close a line, right? Not necessarily the entire rail system, but a rail line, i.e. the Gold Line.
Charlotte City Councilman Ed Driggs says adjustments have been made to the late hours of the Gold Line service in order to reduce overtime hours.
Those are periods during which ridership is very low, and that was regarded as the best adjustment to make. We don't anticipate that any further adjustments to the schedules will be needed.
From increasing pay to sign-on bonuses, the agency's leadership says there are aggressive efforts underway to hire folks for the bus and rail systems. Driggs says recruiting and retaining staff is a top priority.
There are certain skills that are required in the jobs in question, like at the operations center. So we are pressing to train people, to recruit people. We're managing our schedules and our overtime hours in order to have the necessary complement on site at each point in time.
Drake says staffing is an ongoing effort, and he says outside of some changes in hours, he does not foresee much more impact to the Gold Line. In Southwest Charlotte, Jesse Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
Tonight at 6, we start here a month after WCNC Charlotte exposed potentially dangerous safety devices along North Carolina highways. The state has taken action to keep North Carolinians safe. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Colin Mayfield. Now, you may remember a recent investigation into so-called Frankenstein guardrails. They're improperly assembled using mismatched parts from different manufacturers. Not only are they not tested for use, they've also been associated with deaths in other states. The North Carolina Department of Transportation promised to repair those guardrails we found, so our Nate Morabito made sure the state followed through in tonight's Seeking Solutions.
Crews spent Thursday repairing this Frankenstein guardrail along Billy Graham Parkway. A guardrail, a safety advocate told us, reminded him of a similar one in Florida linked to the death of a 22-year-old. What looks like a blur to passing drivers,
this is a really big deal,
could actually be the difference between life and death.
I've seen these mismatched systems kill and maim people all across the country.
This guardrail sat in the middle of Billy Graham Parkway for so long, vines covered it.
We cannot just set these things and forget them.
It's one of several across the state safety advocate Steve Eimers flagged as Frankenstein.
I've looked at a fraction of those.
And he believes there are many more the North Carolina Department of Transportation doesn't yet know about.
We're probably talking hundreds, possibly thousands.
What are you all going to do about it? When questioned about our findings,
if we're aware of it, yes, we will fix it.
NCDOT promised to take action. The agency reports crews have since repaired more than a dozen Frankenstein guardrails we identified, including 2 on I-77, 1 on 485, another on Wilkinson Boulevard, several in Shelby, 2 in Lincolnton, and even more on I-26 in western North Carolina. The state determined a handful of others we identified do not, in fact, have deficiencies.
We do not believe it would be a cost-effective endeavor to go out there and look at every one of these.
NCDOT maintains the agency is not aware of any fatalities or severe injuries involving Frankenstein guardrails in North Carolina and doesn't believe there is evidence they pose a widespread safety risk to the public.
Yeah.
That's why Kevin Lacey told us taxpayers are better served by NCDOT using its limited resources on more impactful efforts, like replacing outdated guardrails rather than searching for improperly assembled ones.
There's a likelihood that we would save more lives spending that time and money on other activities. I'm not anti-guardrail. I am anti-doing it wrong.
Eimers, though,
this is a square peg in a round hole,
isn't convinced.
This thing is Frankenstein.
He's continuing his mission to find others in North Carolina so the state can repair those too and potentially save more lives along the way.
This is the second one I've found in 15 minutes of being in North Carolina.
At the same time, crews fixed a Frankenstein guardrail in Charlotte.
You'll end up in the river.
He found several more in western North Carolina in just a matter of minutes. In addition to repairing this guardrail and most of the others we made them aware of, NCDOT also plans to improve training so crews install the guardrails right the first time, acknowledging some mistakes were likely made and noting some of the guardrails were installed decades ago. Nate Morabito, WCNC Charlotte.
Welcome back. A tip led to a WCNC investigation that uncovered a disturbing practice for housing foster kids in Charlotte. We learned some kids are sleeping at the Department of Social Services offices when there is nowhere else for them to go. But for months, the county refused to fill in the blanks until now. WCNC reporter Michelle Bowden kept pushing for answers, and tonight has that part of her continuing investigation and some potential solutions to this.
We were almost as surprised by the fact that kids were spending the night in government conference rooms as we were by the way the county handled our questions. But we kept asking, and tonight we're learning how they plan to fix this upsetting problem.
It was a shocking revelation. Foster kids in Charlotte forced to sleep in a government conference room.
We have had meetings with DSS leadership. They're very concerned because there are kids staying actually in their offices because they don't have placement for them. And I think there are kids staying in hotels as well.
We sat down with the executive director of a nonprofit called The Relatives back in April and tried repeatedly to get the county to comment. At the time, all we got was we, quote, appreciate your effort to assist in recruiting foster care placements. But once they saw our story, the county's deputy director, Anthony Trotman, agreed to talk.
Kids are not sleeping on the floor. They're sleeping on mattresses.
He oversees youth and family services.
There are times where kids are sleeping on mattresses in the government facility, and those are in the extreme situations.
How often would you say that's happening?
There's been a huge uptick in this particular situation because there's been more complex kids that have come into our custody, and that began to happen in the summer of 2022.
And he admitted foster kids are sleeping in conference rooms or hotels every month.
We've had on average around 6 kids that have had to either sleep in a hotel, one of our partner facilities that has beds, as well as the office.
So what happens when they're in the office?
There's 2 social workers that are assigned to each kid that's in our custody, and we make sure that they have all of the wraparound supports that they need. For kids that need to go to school, we give them transportation, and for kids that need to sleep in the office, we have mattresses and all of the bedding necessary to support those youth, as well as we provide food and snacks and the like.
How heartbreaking is this when you're talking about kids sleeping in a government building or a hotel?
It is never our intent to keep a kid in a government building. That's under extreme circumstances where a kid will be in a government building. It is our intent to put them in the proper placement setting, but when that placement setting isn't available, it is our responsibility as the custodial parent of that kid to ensure the kid's safety.
The county also clarified the initial numbers they gave us. On average, there are 500 foster kids in Mecklenburg County every day who need somewhere to go. There are just 88 licensed foster care homes in the county, down from 110 a few years ago, despite the area's growing population. There are another 500 placements available statewide, meaning Mecklenburg has to compete with every other county to use those additional homes.
And that is an issue that we have. We need more foster families. So we know it's a problem, and we are identifying solutions.
That's why Trotman says the county is now working with a marketing firm to help spread awareness, and they're making progress on building a new facility to house more kids.
Where we're going to have 6 beds for girls and 6 beds for boys, because we know that there's a continued issue as far as capacity.
But the facility won't be ready until 2025.
If you've ever thought about being a foster parent, there are lots of support groups in town, and there are classes scheduled to get you trained. We've got all the information you need on our website, WCNC.com. Reporting in Charlotte, Michelle Bowden, WCNC Charlotte.
WCNC Charlotte first brought you this story last night about the drug Xylazine, also known on the street as Trank.
Yeah, it is a powerful horse tranquilizer being cut into street drugs like fentanyl and heroin. And it is being ingested by humans without their knowledge, and the effects can be deadly. We showed you how it got here and where the cases are. But what does this mean for local organizations who work with those who struggle with addiction? A big question. WCNC Charlotte's Austin Walker joining us in the studio now. What did you find out here, Austin?
Addiction recovery centers are on high alert, and a lot of them are coming into contact with people who have unknowingly used Xylazine or Trank. They are seeing the deep, open wounds the drug creates. They say every day it gets harder to handle. And for one facility, it says like the spread, it escalated fast. We want to warn you, the images you're about to see could be disturbing. In the town of Wilkesboro, it's a beautiful afternoon, but the infectious sunshine is drowned out. The once clear skies fill with dark clouds. The rain falls hard, It's unexpected.
No one's prepared for it.
And inside the Wilkes Recovery Center.
So this is a syringe exchange.
They're experiencing a different kind of storm, similar to the falling rain outside.
I heard about it. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't in our community. And then bam, it was like overnight. Probably going to be these supplies here.
Amanda Hooper is the operations director at the Wilkes Recovery Revolution, working with people who have substance abuse disorder.
Gauze.
She's organizing supplies.
The triple antibiotic ointment down here.
It's become the normal after Xylazine, known on the street as Trank, has made its way into the Carolinas.
I've seen an uptick in the last month.
Dealers are cutting street drugs with Xylazine.
Whether that's fentanyl, heroin, pain pills, I mean, it's getting into everything.
It's a way to stretch the supply and makes it more affordable to buy and sell. The result, it slows blood pressure down to a dangerous level, giving users a strong high and, in some cases, open wounds that take months to heal.
It was on the bottom, on her calf, and it was a pretty large area. It's sad. Those wounds are so gnarly.
Right now, the center is on damage control.
We're increasing our orders on that. Wound care's not enough, but I don't know what is enough at this point. You know, I don't know what the answer is, but we're doing the best we can.
Similar to the wounds on the body, the cost of supplies is eating away at the center. Because the drug is newer, testing for it is hard to come by. Unlike the fentanyl test strips,
they're a little pricey.
The Xylazine tests are hard to get.
Our fentanyl test strips are about $1 a strip. Xylazine test strips are $2. So we're working on funding.
Just going around.
Data from UNC Chapel Hill's drug checking lab shows about 25% of the sampled street drugs in North Carolina contain Trank. According to the National Institute on Drug Abuse in Pennsylvania, where the drug first landed in the U.S., the percentage of all overdose deaths involving Xylazine increased from 2% in 2015 to 26% in 2020, a 1,300% increase over just 5 years. Many of those who use these street drugs are among our homeless community. Another issue, Queen City Harm Reduction says when that person goes to seek shelter, if they have an open wound from Xylazine over the fears of spreading disease, they could be turned away.
I mean, that's crazy to me. But I feel sad for them that these barriers are in place and they can't get their basic needs met because of it. Hand sanitizing wipes.
With limited information, Hooper says they are left trying to do the best they can.
We don't know what it is and we don't know how to treat it. Yes, it was a big surprise.
Trying to get by, waiting for these clouds to part.
We are still not prepared. We have no clue looking forward where this thing can go.
Outside, it continues to pour.
And when they see some of these pictures, they start to show me some wounds that they've got.
Weathering the storm.
And there aren't any answers being given to us from professionals.
The White House declaring Trank a, quote, emerging threat. Now, we asked Hooper down the road, what do you predict? She says if something doesn't change, all of the supply found will be laced with Trank. Austin Walker, WCNC Charlotte.
Good Sunday morning, all. As you're waking up early this morning, I think some things you'll notice are a few more areas of cloud cover, a little bit of that patchy haze still, but probably most importantly is the increase in humidity. It is a hair on the more muggy side as we're kicking off this morning. As we go hour by hour, you will notice those clouds sticking around and temperatures a little bit warmer, but look at that. By 1, 2 o'clock, we will be bringing in that low-end opportunity for some rain. Now, before we get there, there is still a moderate air quality index. That's our AQI across most of the deep south, but at least some improvement across portions of the Carolinas from that orange from yesterday. It really is going to be this big swath of rain, this cold front moving through that is really going to create a substantial change in what it's going to feel like for those folks who maybe have asthma, things like that, as we get closer to tonight and especially into Monday. Now, this cold front is going to bring us rain and storm potential this afternoon, evening, and even off and on until Monday. The important thing to note, though, is there are multiple rounds of rain and storms. I say that because I don't want you to see one thunderstorm, let's say around 2 o'clock, and think, boom, I'm done, I can go outside. Unfortunately, that's not the case here. We're actually going to track multiple rounds, at least 2 for today, and then off and on heading into Monday too. Now, what's important about the distinction of rounds of rain and storms is the first one, I'm not convinced that we're going to see an opportunity for this. Maybe some heavy rain, frequent lightning, but our severe weather potential remains low, mainly west of I-77, but I think this will be primarily this evening and overnight. So let's break it down for you hour by hour. As we approach lunchtime here, you are going to notice drier conditions, but by 2-3 o'clock, this is when I think we could start to see some rain and storms move in to western parts of the area, closer to Cleveland County, portions of the mountains. For most of the Piedmont in the Charlotte metro, this will shift closer to 3 and 4 o'clock. Notice a widespread swath of rain at times, and this will kind of stick around off and on until about 6-7. Now, this is kind of where the forecast gets a little bit challenging. If we see all of that rain I just showed you, I think we could have enough rain-cooled air that would mitigate the instability for round number 2. What I mean by that is if the air is less stable, I don't think we'll have as much of an opportunity to see strong storm potential as more rain rolls in by tonight and again into Monday morning. But what I really want to again drive home is the first round, I'm not really convinced that we'll see severe storms. That'll be a better opportunity overnight and into Monday. And this is important too, because this is when a lot of you are asleep, getting ready to head out the door Monday morning for work, things like that. So I do encourage everybody to download the WCNC Charlotte mobile app, turn on the alerts just so you can get them for your current location. If after this event you want to turn them back off, more power to you. But it is nice to know, of course, to track rain, storms, air quality, things like that where you live. Now, you'll notice off and on rain and storm potential all the way through Monday. Eventually that will clear out by Monday afternoon and into the evening. So I circled that area to kind of show you that yes, we have multiple rounds, but it's really this evening and overnight into Monday that I'm primarily keeping an eye on that severe weather threat. Now, best chance for anything strong to severe, best impact locally will be wind gusts in excess of 60 miles per hour. There's a chance for some small hail, but I'm not convinced about that. Frequent lightning though, you can pretty much bank on it. Now, while we will keep that low and strong storm potential into Monday, I showed you it is going to clear out by the afternoon and evening. And then as we head into Tuesday, Wednesday, and beyond, I'm not seeing a lot of support for severe storms as we enter the end of this upcoming week. So stay weather aware. Stay alert if you do have outdoor plans as we do bring in those storm potential mainly after 2 o'clock today. That will remain off and on into Monday. Some could become strong to severe at times, but we do dry out just a bit entering the upcoming work week.
At WCNC Charlotte, we really want to make a difference.